Hello, everybody. I have Arthur Serbet with me here today. I met Arthur about a year ago in a convention of the Arthritis Foundation, and he was telling me about a very interesting business he was developing that actually gamifies treating RA and other conditions. It's an app. And first, I'd like to ask Arthur, tell me a few words about yourself and how you actually came to start this business, having no real direct connection to rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes, thanks for having me, Ron. I'm an engineer by training. I worked in strategy consulting for a while, and then started building companies nearly 10 years ago now. Built a couple of other companies in other industries, not in healthcare, before starting Reactive. Um, I One thing that does connect me with healthcare, in particular rehab, was that I had three knee surgeries for ACL reconstructions in my 20s, and there's a pretty heavy procedure. You have to do 6 to 9 months of rehab, and so cumulated, I spent a lot of time doing rehab, and I always found the process very boring, very repetitive,
Right.
and I think that's a widespread problem in rehab or exercising in general. Like people don't do it enough. And so the initial idea with Reactive was like, how can we make it much more fun to engage with exercising? Um, so at first, we tried a bunch of stuff like you do in early stage startups. We prototype in virtual reality, trying to match the exercise motions with a game. That was the initial idea of let's use those motions that are very common, that you common exercises, and match those with a game. So a prototype in virtual reality. We used that tool in adjunct to therapy, and iterated a bunch of versions. We added a therapist within the experience. We moved it to mobile instead of VR for accessibility reasons. And you fast forward to today. This is kind of like the product that we have right now, which is a combination of virtual occupational therapy combined with exercising games and videos to help people who suffer from joint pain.
So it's basically like a therapist in your own hands, right?
Exactly. And we've spent a lot of time working on the tools around the therapist to make sure that it's not only a video conversation that you're having with a therapist, but that it
Right.
has those other things to do in the app to make the therapy more accessible and fun. Yeah.
Let's talk about gamification. You mentioned it. This is very interesting. What's the value of gamification and positivity in treating RA or similar conditions?
Yeah, so as we were, providing the tool to different patient population, what we found is that people who suffer from chronic joint pain in particular, so people with RA or other types of arthritis conditions and beyond, what we found is that these populations really felt abandoned by the medical system a lot of the time. They felt like they didn't have anything to do. And when they go to the doctor, it's like this, right? It's like, oh, well, if it's OA, for example, if it's osteoarthritis, it's going to be, well, there's nothing to do. You're getting old. That's just part of life. If it's RA, it's like, well, here is the medication and that's it. And there is not, it's kind of very negative in the way of looking at the conditions. And so what we found is the behavior change that we provoke by helping people exercise and engage with rehab and therapy is particularly empowering for people suffering from chronic pain. But it's hard to do, right? Like it's like, yeah, I know I should exercise, but
Right,
you know
right. Well, we know that.
and yeah, and so bringing a gaming approach, a positive approach to exercising, that's what's been very valuable to increase how much our patients generally exercise, and also to implement some of the other changes in their habits, right? Like whether it's you change your diet, your surroundings, how you're holding a pen, or whatever else is going to be helpful to reduce the pain, but kind of always in a positive, proactive way of like, there are things to do. There's nothing that's going to necessarily solve everything in one go,
Right.
but we it's just kind of like really positive, proactive, and fun in the case of the games, and therefore, our patients tend to just exercise and take more control of their.
Do you have any numbers?
It's basically after 4 to 6 weeks, generally, depending on the condition, but in that kind of time frame of usage of the app, that we see an average of 33% reduction in pain, 27% functional improvement, and more importantly, just a perception, increased confidence in people doing their daily activities is really what we're targeting.
That's impressive. Can you give us a quick demo of the app?
Sure. So let me try and share my screen. Well, hopefully you get a sense. So I'm going to start with the games. So this is the exercising games that we're talking about. Oof, it is pretty laggy. But so you can see here, so this is a game for finger arthritis. So making a fist is very good to keep your joints moving in your finger.
Right.
And so here you can see I'm moving my hand and controlling that little target. And then by making a fist, I'm loading a bubble, and by releasing the fist, it releases the bubble.
That's so cool.
Here the goal is really to match those little, bubbles with the right colors, and to, like basically get in the flow of the game, and you kind of forget that you're doing this, but at the end of this exercise, I might have done, I don't know, 20, 30 fists or something like that.
Right.
And really kind of made that kind of like motion is motion, is what our therapists often say, and it's kind of how we're thinking about those games.
And we know, by the way, making a fist is really challenging for people with joint damage in the fingers. In fact, I cannot really do like a completely 100% closed fist on both hands. But I actually use the app, and it actually makes you move, makes you do those movements, which otherwise, why would you sit like that and you don't do this, like, for, I don't know, for like 15 minutes or something, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So I think that's the case. Like, people kind of forget they're exercising, or that they have to. This is just like, oh, I'm playing Candy Crush, or I'm playing whatever other game.
Right.
So that's kind of the first aspect of this. But so you have games, you have also just regular video exercising as well, that we're supplementing the games with other videos, and those are tailored to your condition, to yourself as well, if you engage with a therapist.
So she's your in-house physiotherapist, right?
Exactly. So we use occupational therapists primarily. We think they're better suited or they're very well suited for virtual care, because they're used to customizing, kind of therapeutic activities to a specific environment as well, like to your home or something like that. That's really more of an occupational therapist than physical therapist kind of approach. So you can see here, you have the chat, you can schedule calls, and like, she's going to be the one selecting the games for you. She's going to be the one selecting the exercises, but beyond that, just also more traditional type of therapy for you. And then, you have a lot of data that you can look here, assess range of motions and things like that. And that's kind of the app. And as you see, I just reached 8 sessions here, so I'm going to get a check-in also to see how I'm progressing. Like asking the pain levels.
That's very cool.
And things like that, like areas of focus.
Talked about the catered content in the app. I want to mention that you have like an amazing Instagram channel, probably TikTok also, but I'm not there. I'm too old for that. And can you talk a little bit about the content that you're, putting out there?
Yeah, so social media for us has been great to connect to the community. It's how we got so much feedback on what people want and care about, especially when it came to the exercise videos that we now have in our app, because our therapist primarily is providing tips, exercises, doing, lives with a nutritionist or a doctor, or things like that, kind of like very valuable content that on the social media we get a lot of followers, because they really appreciate, especially the exercises. And what we've done is we've moved this kind of content into the app. So when you go onto Reactive app and you tap, very quickly you get to exercising, because that's how people exercise on TikTok. Really, it's like
Right.
I'm following a bunch of channels. I know they've got good exercises for me, and it's quick. I don't have to like log in, track whatever. Like it's super quick, and we've replicated that in the app. The extra value in the app is that the videos are actually tailored for you specifically.
Mhm.
Our therapists even record specific exercises, maybe for your specific case as well. So,
That's cool.
but yeah, social media has been very valuable.
So how can people get the app, or who are you partnering with in the industry to make the app accessible through like providers or parties like that?
Yeah, so the app is only available in the United States at the moment, primarily because we can't treat patients outside of the US for now. So the first step is to visit our website, reactiverehab.com, and sign up there. And we'll check eligibility. So there's kind of a few options. If you're in network, if your insurance plan, we're in network with them, then that will cover the care, and it'll be um, uh, mostly free for you. Basically, there might be a copay, but like the whole care is paid for. We are in network with a few plans in New York, primarily at the moment, but down the line we want to expand and be covered, you know, nationally and at as many plans as possible. Um, the other thing we've started doing is partnering with employers. So we're getting more and more employers. So you can check with your employers if we're offered as a benefit, um, that is covered by them. And there is also an out-of-pocket option, where you would have to pay for the care directly, but we try to
Mhm.
keep that affordable as well.
Right. Okay, that's very cool. So what's the vision? What's happening down the road, like 2 years from now?
Yeah, I think we want to get to a position where if you have joint pain, primarily chronic joint pain, this is the first thing that a doctor, a payer, or an employer thinks about sending you to. They're not sending you to the primary care doctor. They're not sending you to an orthopedic surgeon or anything like that. It's like, well, actually, the best, most affordable, most accessible solution is reactive. And we know that in most cases, people will get better that way. And that's the first kind of line of defense. And if we, I think there's been a lot of progress in virtual care. Other solutions have done very well at making it a more accepted solution. But I think with the more specialized tool that we're using in our approach, we hope to make it even more of a default solution for a lot of cases.
All right, that's amazing. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, the only thing I would say is like if it's reaching out the community, we're always looking for feedback as well and things that people want. So if you hit us up on the social media channels, tell us what you would want to see in the app or what you want to see as content on our social media. I think that that's super helpful for us as well.
All right, perfect. Arthur, thank you so much for being with us and
Thank
for
you.
doing this great job and taking care of us. And yeah, we'll probably follow up in the near future and see how things are progressing.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Ron,
All
for
right,
having
take care. Bye bye.
me.